Yeah, I think it's kind of a response video to a Fred video. Didn't watch the very end of his video. He was talking about theism and atheism and how, there's no distinction that matters. Implying something like that anyway. Like there's no predictive value as a distinction between claiming you're one or the other. Doesn't change anything substantial about whether or not what will happen to us. And that's quite obvious, right? I mean, it's obvious that gods don't show up. Gods don't float people to heaven. There's no evidence. There'll be no apparent difference. There's no observable difference between my going to hell, as a Christian might predict, visibly. You won't see me do it. And me rotting, both of those things will be consistent with both beliefs because the religion conveniently doesn't require any signs of the religion. No evidence, doesn't leave any fingerprints behind that belief system. So of course it has no, it's not a description of a reality that can be tested. Clearly, okay, so yeah. But to say it's not a significant modeling difference or logical difference, that you can't make predictions about how people's brains will work based on their belief systems. So all they have to do is say, yes, I believe in Donald Duck. I believe he flew to Mars and communicated with Martians and learned special technology, and he informed Walt Disney on how to build Disney World. Now, if somebody tells me that's their theory, then I'm going to presume they probably have a lot of other wacky theories, and I'm not going to let them drive my car or do a lot of things because I figure they're crazy. And you can make the same kind of argument for theists if they're going to buy this silly story in any real way, like I stake my life on it kind of way. If they're going to be obnoxious about it, I wouldn't trust them with anything important because they're going to screw it up, because they don't have a coherent way of judging truth and falsehood. They will buy the Brooklyn Bridge. I mean, if you'll buy the God fable, then I guess if everybody tells you there's the bridge is for sale and it's a really good deal, you'll fall for it if everybody else is falling for it. You'll follow the sheeple pattern. And you'll buy any kind of bullshit as long as Rush Limbaugh tells you so. Or Pat Robertson. Or some other pretty face. Yeah. You're just a song singer. Oh, he sings so beautifully, his God must be God. Come on. So you can't negate that this is not, all these metaphors again, metaphoring thoughts to physical items, and, I hold a belief, and so now we're going to talk about holding rocks and holding blocks and, holding other things, and somehow holding is, it's just a metaphor. It doesn't have anything to do with the explicit reality, so let's not pretend it does. Let's not pretend that beliefs have to follow the pattern of real things that you hold, because they're not going to. They're pieces of a model in your head, and modeling the world accurately is constructive. Modeling the world inaccurately is likely destructive. The probability is, if you don't know the game you're playing, you won't be very successful at playing it. Can we cut it down that narrow, that thin? And so the logical evidence negating the existence of God is substantially huge. Okay, it's monstrously huge. There's lots of logical problems with the God theory. All of the God theories. They all have huge, gaping. They create as a premise all kinds of conflicts with what we do know to be true. The evolutionary evidence, the evidence of lying scumbag humans who make up shit and convince other people that their shit is true, all the evidence of unreliability, and all the evidence of that is already established as fact about what's happening here on planet Earth, what the biology is up to. And those truths make it logically nonsensical, logically you have to be incompetent logically to accept belief in God. It's a logically incompetent. Okay, it's logically. There's probably another word, but yeah, it just is. You have to be incompetent in terms of the function of the logic to accept God in the face of all the evidence demonstrating it to be a theory of huge corruptions. And obviously atheism, as it just plain stated, the not believing in the fable of a God doesn't assure you that your model is constructed well. You might believe in some other mush. You might take your marching orders from some other mush. You might think DNA molecules are intrinsically bestowed with intelligence, so it'd be another logically flawed theory that could be put in another category. So it's not like there's a right and wrong answer, but obviously the question is more complicated than is there a God? The question is, what's the play of the game? What game are we in? And that can't be answered by just saying there's a God or there's not a God. You have to go a little further and talk about the intelligence of the design, the function, what is being consumed and what is being produced. You have to go through a lot more conversation that's going to get you into these value territories and these more abstract territories to fully, in some complete way, understand, accurately model, accurately describe reality. But there are accurate descriptions and inaccurate descriptions, and it is consistent with logic. The less accurate ones are less likely to produce, constructive behavior. You're less likely to play the game right if you don't understand the game, if you've misunderstood it. It's not impossible. I'm just saying, you can get something wrong and still act right, but the likelihoods are prejudiced towards correct answers leading to correct behavior. Anyway, enough of a video. Until next time and such. I did hit the button, but I did